Welcome to Sleepy Science. Tonight, I want to show you something you feel every day, but almost never think about. Weather. Not just rain or wind, but the quiet science behind why the sky behaves the way it does. Little secrets hidden in clouds, soft patterns in the air. Tiny forces that shape your whole day without you even noticing. As you listen, these gentle weather facts will calm your mind and help your body drift into rest. So take a slow breath, settle in, and if you enjoy falling asleep to calm science, make sure you subscribe. Air is all around you, yet you never really notice it. You breathe it in, you breathe it out. It moves past your skin in quiet ways, almost shy, almost hidden. But inside this calm space around you, something gentle is always happening. Something you cannot see unless you slow down and let your mind soften for a moment. And that is where our story begins, right here, in the invisible world that shapes every piece of weather on Earth. Most people look at the sky and see clouds or light or maybe a change in color, but almost no one thinks about the air itself. We forget that air is not empty. It is made of tiny particles always touching each other, always pressing, always nudging, always reacting to warmth and cold. Even when everything looks still, the air is never asleep. It has its own quiet life, its own gentle behavior, and it controls far more than you might imagine. If you could shrink yourself down until you were smaller than a grain of dust, you would see that the air is full of motion. Little bits of oxygen and nitrogen bouncing and shifting like tiny dancers. They never stop moving. They never stop pushing. And all of this silent movement is what gives us weather. Not big storms, not heavy clouds, not sudden rain, but the soft early steps before all of that happens. This hidden life of air is the beginning of everything that touches the sky. When the sun touches the ground, even a little, the air reacts. Warm air becomes lighter and begins to rise because the tiny particles inside it get excited and move faster. Cold air becomes heavier and slowly settles because the particles move slower and stay close. That simple push upward and gentle fall downward creates patterns that never stop. They move over seas, across deserts, between buildings, and around your body every single moment of the day. It's one of the softest forces on Earth, yet it controls the shape of clouds, the path of winds, and the making of rain. If you stand outside for a moment and close your eyes, you might feel a soft movement brushing past your face. It might feel cool or warm or neutral, but it always carries information. If it feels cooler than your skin, it usually means the air above you is sinking from a higher place, bringing with it calm weather. If it feels warm, it often means air is rising nearby, letting moisture collect and slowly changing the sky. These changes are tiny. They start in silence. But give them time, and they become the weather you see later in the day. It always tries to fill spaces where pressure is low. It always tries to move away from places where pressure is high. That balance is what keeps everything working smoothly. When there is a small pocket of warm air rising somewhere, cooler air slides in to replace it. When a patch of cool air settles somewhere else, warmer air moves toward it. These simple motions become soft breezes, gentle patterns, and later larger movements that shape the sky above your head. It is all predictable in a calm, natural way. Nothing in the air happens without a reason. People often think weather begins suddenly, but it doesn't. It starts slowly inside the air itself. A tiny change in temperature over a lake. A small patch of warm ground created by sunlight on a rock. a shadow cooling a field. Even the heat from a busy city creates its own effect. These little pieces collect over time. They link together. They spread across the sky in quiet waves until the whole atmosphere responds. The air notices everything, even things you never pay attention to. If you have ever watched a leaf move, even though nothing else was moving, that was the air talking. It might have been a gentle current sliding around a building, or a soft pull from a warm surface cooling down. Air always finds pathways. It wraps around objects. It moves through spaces that look too small. It lifts tiny things and lets them fall again. Even a feather on the ground feels these tiny movements. Every shift, every touch, comes from the change in pressure and temperature happening somewhere nearby. Sometimes, on a calm day, it feels like nothing is happening at all. But even then, the air is busy. Heat rises from the earth in thin sheets. Cool pockets of air slide down from higher places. Moisture collects in invisible layers. Particles bounce and separate and come back together. It is a peaceful world, but it is always in motion. And all that quiet activity sets the stage for everything that will come later. Clouds, wind, colors in the sky, even small changes in the feel of the day. If you stand still for a moment and take a slow breath, you become a part of that process. When you breathe in, you pull air toward you. When you breathe out, you push air away. Even that tiny action affects the air around you. Every warm breath adds a little heat. Every quiet exhale adds a little moisture. These are small changes, but air responds to all of them. It is a living system, always adjusting, always reacting, always carrying small stories in every movement. Air also carries memories of where it has been. A breeze on your face might have touched the sea just hours earlier. A warm patch of air might have risen from a desert far away. A cool current might have formed above a forest while you were still asleep. Air travels without a sound, carrying temperature, moisture, and pressure from place to place, mixing them like gentle ingredients in a recipe. When these ingredients meet new conditions, they change again. And the most interesting part is that all of this is happening right now. While you sit here, while you listen, while your mind grows softer and your body feels heavier, the air around you is moving quietly, shaping the next moment of weather you will feel. You might not see it. You might not think about it, but it is working softly and steadily, just the way it always has. This hidden life of air is the foundation of everything that comes next. The clouds that form above you, the gentle winds that brush past your skin. The warm days, the cool nights, the quiet changes across the seasons, all of it begins with simple movements happening right now in the space around you. Clouds look simple from far away, but each one begins with something so small you cannot see it. A tiny bit of moisture rises into the air, and something quiet begins to happen. The warm air holds the moisture like a soft secret, carrying it upward, higher and higher, until the temperature starts to cool. And right at that moment, something gentle forms, something light, something new. A cloud is born, not with noise or force, but with calm steps that happen in silence. And once you understand the small story behind each cloud, the sky begins to feel different. It begins to feel alive in a soft, peaceful way. When you look at clouds, you might see shapes or shadows or colors. Some people see animals or faces. Some people see signs of the weather changing. But hidden inside every cloud is a process that started long before you ever looked up. It started in the warm ground where sunlight touched the surface and warmed little patches of air. Those warm pockets rose gently, carrying tiny drops of water so small they floated as if they weighed nothing. As they rose toward cooler air, the moisture began to collect, not in heavy drops, not in visible shapes, but in tiny beads that cling to the air like soft dust. These beads gather around tiny particles, dust, pollen, or even salt from the ocean. They use these particles as tiny anchors. They cling, they join, and they begin to grow, not quickly, not loudly. Slow enough that you would never notice unless someone told you. But inside this quiet moment, a cloud starts to take shape, layer by layer, all from moisture you cannot see, coming together piece by piece until it becomes something big enough to paint the sky. When a cloud is young, it often starts low and thin. You might not even notice it because it looks like a soft brushstroke across the sky. But as more moisture rises and collects, the cloud becomes thicker. It grows upward or spreads sideways depending on the air around it. It follows the path of wind, it responds to heat, it reacts to pressure. Clouds are gentle but not simple. They learn from the air around them, shaping themselves to match the world they move through. Some clouds grow tall, some grow wide, some stay thin like a soft veil stretched across the sky. But all of them contain countless droplets that stay balanced in the air, held up by upward motion and carried by invisible hands. And each cloud, no matter the size, has its own story. A cloud formed above the ocean carries salt. A cloud formed above a forest might carry the smell of pine or soil. A cloud above a busy city carries heat from roads and buildings. Even if the clouds look similar, their stories are never the same. If you pay attention, you can see clues about their lives. A flat-bottomed cloud often formed at a very specific height where the air cooled just enough for moisture to join. A rising, puffy cloud often began in a warm place where sunlight heated the ground. A long, stretched cloud usually formed in gentle winds that shaped it like a ribbon. These shapes are not random. They are messages written in soft air, telling you about the journey that cloud has taken. One of the most calming things about clouds is how slow they form. Even when they look like they appear suddenly, the process began long before you noticed. Moisture rising, air cooling, tiny droplets forming. It is a patient story, a quiet story, and it repeats across the entire sky every single day. There is no rush up there. Nature takes its time. The clouds grow when the conditions are right, and they fade when the conditions change. Everything is balanced. Everything follows gentle rules. As a cloud grows older, it begins to change again. The droplets inside may become heavier as more moisture joins. The air holding them might become too weak to keep them floating. Some clouds stretch thin as winds pull them apart. Others build upward as warm air keeps rising below them. Nothing stays still for long because the air is always responding to heat, moisture, and motion. And every response creates a new shape in the sky. Sometimes the cloud becomes thick enough to block sunlight. The sky feels cooler. Shadows soften. The world turns quiet for a moment. It has grown enough to control the brightness around you. Other times, the cloud looks bright and white because sunlight reflects off the surface of countless droplets, making the cloud look soft and glowing. Even the color of the cloud tells a part of its story. If you look at a tall cloud with a rounded top, you are seeing warm air push upward, lifting moisture higher and higher. If you look at a long, thin cloud stretching across the sky, you are seeing layers of air sliding past each other in different directions. If you see clouds that seem frozen in place, you are watching stable air hold moisture in a quiet balance. Everything in the sky follows rules, even when it looks random. One of the most peaceful parts of cloud life is how they fade. There is no sudden collapse. There is no loud ending. When a cloud begins to lose moisture, the tiny droplets either fall or spread apart. The warm air underneath stops rising. The cold air around starts pulling the cloud apart softly. The edges thin. The shape loosens. The cloud slowly disappears into the sky like it was never there at all. This gentle ending is one of the most calming things to watch because it shows how nature lets things go without hurry. Sometimes clouds fade because the sun sets and the air cools in a new way. Sometimes they fade because dry air moves in from another place. Sometimes they fade because the wind shifts and pulls the droplets apart. Whatever the reason, the ending is always peaceful. A soft return to the way things were before the cloud formed. If you think about it, clouds follow a life cycle just like any living thing. They begin as invisible moisture. They gather quietly. They grow when the world supports them. They change as they move through different air. They fade when their time is done, and the entire process happens above you every day without you even needing to notice. But once you do notice, you start seeing the sky differently. Every cloud becomes a small story, a calm reminder that nature builds things slowly, changes them gently, and lets them go without forcing anything. They remind you that every moment in the sky is connected to a moment before it, forming a soft chain of cause and effect that never truly stops. The sun does its work quietly. It never speaks. It never rushes. It simply shines, and the whole world responds. You feel its warmth on your skin, but you rarely think about how much it controls. Almost every change in the sky begins with sunlight touching the ground. It looks simple, but there is a soft and steady chain reaction happening every time the sun rises. And this chain reaction builds the weather you feel all day. When sunlight reaches Earth, it lands on different surfaces. Some places warm up fast, like dark rocks or city roads. Other places warm slowly, like oceans or forests. This difference matters. Warm ground heats the air above it. Cool ground keeps the air calm. These uneven patches of warm and cool air start the gentle movements that fill the sky. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic, just warm air lifting upward and cooler air settling downward, creating a quiet push and pull that never stops. If you stand outside in the morning, you can feel this change. At sunrise, the ground is cool and the air sits close and still. But as sunlight spreads, the warmth grows. You might not see it, but the air closest to the ground becomes lighter and begins to rise. It rises slowly like a peaceful breath. As it moves up, cooler air slides down to replace it. This small motion is the beginning of what you later feel as a breeze. All of it created by the sun working in silence. Warm air rising is one of the most important actions in weather. It creates space. It creates movement. It becomes the first step in building clouds, shaping wind, and forming patterns in the sky. The sun does nothing more than warm the surface, but the air reacts immediately. The tiny particles begin to spread out, move faster, and lift themselves higher, and every rise creates an opening for cooler, heavier air to sink in. That simple exchange creates endless motion, even on calm days. Another thing sunlight does is warm different places at different speeds. A dark field heats quickly, a calm lake warms slowly, a forest warms in small steps. These changes build small patches of warm air and cool air side by side, and whenever you place warm air next to cool air, movement begins. Warm air rises, cool air settles, and this quiet circulation creates layers of motion above the ground. You can't see these layers, but you feel them when you move through them. When you walk from a shaded area into sunlight, the warmth feels different. When a soft breeze touches your face, it often comes from air moving to fill a space created by rising warm air somewhere else. Even the smallest motions in the sky begin with sunlight making one patch warmer than another. It's almost like the sun paints the ground with invisible heat patterns, and the air follows them. Sunlight also gives energy to water. When the surface of a pond or ocean warms, tiny particles of water begin to lift into the air. They rise and become part of moisture that later forms clouds. Without sunlight, water would stay where it is. With sunlight, it becomes part of the sky. This gentle rising of moisture creates humidity, cloud formation, and sometimes even rainfall far from where the water started. The sun guides all of it without making a sound. If you ever watch the sky in a warm afternoon, you might notice small clouds forming in certain spots. These are usually places where warm air is rising more strongly. The sun heats the ground. The warm ground heats the air. The air rises, carrying moisture with it. As it reaches cooler heights, the moisture begins to collect, forming small clouds. Some grow. Some fade. All of them begin with sunlight warming the earth just enough to set the process in motion. There's a soft balance in all of this. Warm air rises, cool air falls, and the sky stays in harmony. Even when bigger weather systems form, the core idea is the same. Sunlight warms different places in different ways, and the air moves to balance the temperature. This is the gentle engine behind almost every weather pattern you know. It's simple, but it never stops working. If you stand on a beach, you can feel a clear example of this. During the day, the land warms faster than the ocean. As warm air rises over the land, cool air from the sea moves in to replace it. That cool air feels fresh and peaceful. At night, the ocean often stays warmer than the land, so the movement reverses. Warm air from the water rises, and cooler air from the land moves toward the sea. This quiet exchange between land and water is controlled entirely by sunlight and the way it warms each surface. Even the seasons depend on how sunlight reaches Earth. When sunlight hits a region directly, the air warms more strongly. When it hits at an angle, the air warms more gently. This difference creates warm seasons and cool seasons. Long days add more heat, short days add less. And over time, these changes guide everything from wind patterns to rainfall to the colors you see in the sky. Another thing sunlight does is create shadows that cool certain areas. A shadow under a tree can lower the temperature of the air nearby. A cloud passing overhead can cool the ground for a short moment. These small changes matter because air responds instantly to temperature. As one area cools, another area warms. And this creates new motions, new rises, new falls, and new patterns that move across the sky like a soft rhythm. If you ever notice a bird gliding high with its wings stretched, it's using a rising column of warm air created by sunlight heating the ground. These warm columns lift the bird upward without any effort. Even animals understand the gentle power of the sun. They feel it. They follow it. They use it without needing to understand the science behind it. The sun also shapes the colors of the sky. When sunlight passes through the atmosphere, air particles bend and scatter the light. Blue light spreads across the sky during the day. At sunset, when the sun is lower, the light passes through more air and becomes softer, turning orange or red. Even these peaceful colors are part of the sun's quiet influence. If you think about it, the sun works like a calm hand, guiding everything from the ground to the highest clouds. It does not force anything. It warms gently. It starts small reactions. It builds soft patterns that continue long after the light touches the earth. And the sky responds with its own quiet motion, rising and falling in a peaceful cycle that repeats every day. When you close your eyes and feel warmth on your skin, you are feeling the same force that shapes the air, builds clouds, forms winds, and sets the world into motion. All of it begins with simple light, traveling across space, landing softly, and changing everything it touches. Wind is one of those things you feel every day, yet almost never think about. A soft breeze on your face, a quiet push against your clothes, a gentle movement through trees. It feels simple, but behind that simple feeling is a calm logic that never stops working. Wind is not random. Wind is not magic. It is air moving from one place to another, following clear rules that begin with warmth, pressure, and the shape of the land. And once you understand why air moves, the sky becomes easier to read and much more peaceful to watch. Wind begins with a difference. A small one at first. One place warms a little more, another cools a little faster. Warm air rises because it becomes lighter. Cool air settles because it becomes heavier. And the moment warm air lifts, it creates a small open space below it. Air from somewhere else slides in to fill that space, and that motion becomes the start of wind. It can be so soft you barely feel it, or strong enough to move leaves and branches. But all of it begins with that quiet exchange between warm and cool air. When you stand outside, you might not see any signs of this exchange, but you feel it on your skin. You feel the soft pull of air moving past you. Morning breezes feel different because the ground is still cool. Night breezes feel different because the warmth of the day fades slowly. Every moment has its own balance, and wind is simply the air adjusting itself to keep that balance steady. If you wake early in the morning, you may notice the air feels still. This is because the sun has not warmed the ground yet. Without those warm, rising pockets of air, there is less movement. But as sunlight touches the earth even lightly, the warm air begins to lift again. You might feel the first tiny breeze on your arms. It feels fresh. It feels soft. This is the air waking up, adjusting to the new warmth. You can almost imagine it stretching itself, preparing for the day. Different surfaces warm at different speeds, and each one creates its own little pocket of rising air. Trees, roads, fields, and water all respond to sunlight in their own way. These differences create a gentle competition between warm and cool areas, and wind is the result of that competition. It moves from high pressure to low pressure, from cool areas to warm areas, and from heavy air to lighter air. The movement never stops, but it always follows simple, calm rules. At night, everything changes again. The ground loses heat. The air becomes heavier and settles closer to the earth. Winds that were strong during the day soften into gentle flows. If you listen closely at night, you might hear a soft whisper through the trees. It is not just sound, it is cooling air settling into place. The stillness at night comes from the sun stepping back, letting the air settle and rest. Night breezes feel cooler because the warmth that once lifted the air has faded away. Wind also learns from the shape of the land, mountains guided upward and over their peaks, valleys directed like a quiet hallway, oceans allowed to spread far and smooth. Forests slow it down and break it into smaller currents. Even a single building can change the motion of air around it. The land and the wind move together, shaping each other over time. Wind carves rocks, it moves sand, it bends trees, it shapes snow. It does these things slowly, gently, but over years and years the changes become clear. One of the most calming things about wind is how honest it is. It never hides its reason. If air moves, something caused it. Maybe the sun warmed a patch of ground. Maybe a cloud cooled the air below it. Maybe a storm far away created a pull that reached your area. Even if you cannot see the cause, it is there. Wind always responds to pressure, temperature, and movement. Nothing more, nothing less. If you sit quietly on a hillside or near the beach, you can feel the wind telling you about the world around you. A sudden cool breeze might mean a cloud moved in front of the sun. A warm gust might mean air rising from heated ground. A steady wind near the ocean often means cool air moving toward the warm land. These small changes feel relaxing because they follow a gentle rhythm. Nature is always shifting, but always in balance. Wind can be soft enough to move only a single leaf or strong enough to push large waves across the sea. But even strong winds begin with simple changes. Warm air rises, cool air replaces it. Pressure shifts, air moves. The bigger the change, the stronger the wind. But the rule stays the same. It is the same rule that guides a tiny breeze through a field, and the same rule behind powerful winds high in the sky. Wind high above you moves faster because there is less friction. Nothing slows it down. No trees, no hills, no buildings. Up there, air moves in long, smooth lines. These fast winds help guide weather, pushing clouds from place to place and shaping storms before they reach the ground. Even these large motions begin with sunlight heating different parts of Earth. The calm logic stays the same at every level of the sky. If you ever watch birds fly, you can see how well they understand wind. They spread their wings and let the air carry them. They know where warm air rises. They know where cool air sinks. They tilt their wings at just the right moment to glide without using energy. They can feel the logic of wind the same way you feel temperature with your skin. Animals learn from the air because the air is always talking, always telling them where to go. Wind also carries things from one place to another. Seeds, leaves, pollen, sand, snowflakes, even smells from forests or oceans. Wind helps plants spread. It helps animals find food. It helps nature share resources. It does this slowly, gently, without effort. And over time, landscapes change because of the air moving through them. A forest spreads its trees, all because the wind keeps moving steady and patient. When you close your eyes and listen to wind, you can learn to understand the meaning behind its sound. A soft breeze through leaves means gentle movement. A fast sweep across an open field means cooler air rushing to replace warm air. A quiet lull means the temperature is steady and the air is resting. Even the smallest sounds can teach you how the sky behaves if you take a moment to notice. The calm logic of wind is one of the most comforting parts of nature. It reminds you that everything follows a pattern. Everything makes sense. Even when the world feels busy, the sky stays simple. Air moves where it needs to. It adjusts. It balances. It keeps the world comfortable in ways you rarely see but always feel. Rain begins long before a single drop reaches the ground. It starts in places we cannot see, in quiet layers of the sky where tiny bits of moisture float and wait. These small pieces of water are so light and so soft that they hang in the air without any effort. They are like little seeds of weather, hidden but ready. And as the sky changes, they begin to meet each other one by one. You may not notice anything from the ground, but high above, something slow and gentle is taking shape, and that is where the story of rain begins. Moisture rises from oceans, lakes, soil, and even plants. Warm air lifts it upward, the same way warm breath rises from a cup of tea on a cold day. As it rises, it cools. Cooling air cannot hold as much moisture, so the invisible water begins to gather around tiny pieces of dust floating high in the atmosphere. These pieces are so small that you would never see them, yet without them raindrops would not even form. They act like little anchors that let moisture attach and rest. One bit of water joins, then another, and the process continues quietly, almost like a slow handshake in the sky. At first, these water droplets are far too small to fall. They are lighter than anything you can imagine, and even the softest air can hold them up. They move gently inside clouds, touching, joining, and breaking apart again. It takes millions of these tiny droplets to gather into something big enough to begin its fall. This patience is part of the calm nature of weather. Nothing rushes, nothing forces. The sky decides everything through slow steps, and you can picture it happening above you, even on days when the sky looks empty. Some days you can feel the air thick with humidity. That thick feeling is the signal that the sky is carrying more moisture than it usually does. It is almost like the air itself is waiting. When that moisture rises and reaches colder layers, the gathering begins. If the air rises quickly, clouds grow tall and dark. If the air rises slowly, clouds stay soft and thin. Either way, the same quiet process happens inside them. Moisture collects and forms tiny drops. These drops become heavier over time. They join with others. They share their weight. They hold more and more water until they cannot stay in the sky any longer. There is a beautiful logic behind why rain falls when it does. The sky does not release it just because clouds exist. It waits for balance. The droplets inside must reach a size where gravity can guide them downward. But even then, their fall is gentle at first. As they descend, they pass through different layers of temperature and air pressure. Sometimes the droplets evaporate before they reach the ground, which is why you might see rain falling in the distance but never feel a drop. This is called virga, and it is one of the quiet tricks the sky plays. It reminds us that weather is always doing more than we can see. When the droplets survive their journey and reach lower, warmer air, they grow even more as they touch other droplets in their path. You can picture each raindrop making a soft journey downward, gathering more water slowly on the way. This is why the first drops often feel large. They are the ones that formed deepest inside the cloud, gaining size as they travel through all its layers. Later drops are smaller because they join the fall more recently. All of this creates the peaceful rhythm you hear during a gentle rainfall. Rain always seems to fall in a natural pattern, almost like breathing. There is a rise when the air gathers moisture, and a release when the droplets finally fall. And because this cycle repeats every day somewhere on Earth, you are always living under a world that is slowly preparing its next rain. Even when the sky is clear, moisture is rising from the surface. Warm air is lifting it, cool air is waiting to collect it. It is a quiet process that never stops, working hour by hour to prepare the weather that will eventually reach you. When we look at a rainy day, it is easy to think of rain as something simple. Water falls, the ground gets wet, and we move on. But the truth is that every raindrop is the result of thousands of tiny steps happening above us. It begins with sunlight warming water and lifting it. It continues with air cooling and holding moisture. It grows with droplets meeting in clouds. And it ends when gravity brings everything back down. All of these steps linked together with no sound at all. That is part of what makes rain so calming to watch or listen to as you fall asleep. The timing of rain is shaped by wind, temperature, pressure, and the shape of land below. Mountains lift air and create clouds that form rain on one side while leaving dry air on the other. Oceans give off more moisture and make rainy places near coastlines. Forests breathe water back into the sky, helping clouds grow above them. Even cities, with their warm surfaces, can change how and when rain falls. Every place on earth shapes rain in its own way. And yet, as raindrops fall, they cool the air around them. This is why the air feels cleaner and fresher when a storm ends. The falling water brings down particles, dust and pollen, leaving the world around you lighter and easier to breathe. It also softens sounds, making everything quieter for a while. That peaceful stillness after rain is part of why people find rainy weather relaxing. It is like the sky has exhaled and the world is taking a soft pause. There is something comforting in knowing that rain does not hurry. It forms patiently, grows quietly, and falls gently. The sky shows us that even simple things take time. And when you listen to rain at night, you are hearing a process that began long before the drops touched your window. You are hearing the final step of a journey that started with a tiny bit of moisture rising into the air, meeting others, growing, and finally becoming heavy enough to fall. So when the next rain comes, you will know the calm story behind it. You will understand how each drop is made through slow gathering, soft joining, and a quiet release from the clouds above. And as it falls, you can let that slow rhythm help your mind settle, knowing the sky is simply completing another gentle cycle that has repeated for millions of years. Storms begin in quiet places. They do not appear out of nowhere, and they do not start with loud sounds. They start with still air that slowly begins to change. You may feel nothing on the ground, but high above, warm air starts to rise and cool air begins to sink. These gentle movements create the first signs of a storm. They are small, soft steps that build slowly. And even though storms can look big and powerful later, their beginnings are almost calm enough to miss. This makes storms more interesting because their story starts with silence, not noise. Warm air holds more moisture, so when sunlight warms the ground, it warms the air above it. This warm air starts to lift, almost like a bubble rising in water. As it rises, it cools. One small cloud becomes bigger as more warm air rises underneath it. Little by little, that cloud grows taller. It is nature gathering its pieces slowly and gently, preparing for something larger. The quiet build-up happens because warm and cool air do not mix easily. Warm air wants to rise. Cool air wants to fall. When they meet, they create movement. This movement is what starts a storm. The rising warm air fuels the cloud, and the sinking cool air helps shape it. Nothing is chaotic in these early stages. Everything has a clear reason. And once you understand that, storms start to feel less scary and more like a natural part of the sky doing its work. Inside the growing cloud, droplets are moving, joining, and growing larger. Ice crystals form at the top where temperatures are freezing cold. The cloud becomes a rising tower of moisture, stretching high into the sky. It is called a cumulonimbus cloud, but you do not need the name to understand its behavior. Just imagine a cloud that keeps rising because the warm air beneath it keeps lifting it higher. The sky is building a system that will eventually release its energy in rain, wind, or thunder. Before a storm forms, the air often feels different. It can feel heavy or thick. Many people notice this without realizing why. Low pressure means air is rising. When air rises, it creates space near the ground, and more air rushes in to fill that space. This creates the gentle winds that come before a storm. They are not harmful. They are simply the atmosphere balancing itself. Sometimes the build-up is so slow and quiet that you might be surprised when the first drops of rain fall. But high above, the cloud has been working for a long time, building moisture and preparing to release it. Storms are like slow conversations in the sky. They begin with small movements, then grow into something larger, and finally settle back into calm again. Every storm, even the powerful ones, follows this pattern. Lightning is part of storms, but it also has a gentle explanation. Inside a tall cloud, droplets, ice crystals, and bits of hail bump into one another as they move around. These tiny collisions create electric charges. Just like when you rub a balloon on your hair and feel static, the cloud builds up static electricity. When the charge becomes too strong, it releases suddenly as lightning. This release balances the cloud again. It may look dramatic, but it is simply nature finding equilibrium. Thunder is only the sound of air expanding quickly due to the heat of lightning. It is not something dangerous on its own. It is just a sound wave moving through the sky. Knowing this can make storms feel less intense. They follow rules, and every flash or sound has a simple, natural cause. Rain in storms forms when the droplets inside the cloud grow too heavy. The stronger the rising warm air, the longer the droplets stay inside the cloud, and the bigger they become. This is why storm rain can fall in thicker, heavier drops. But even those heavy drops start as tiny pieces of moisture, no different from the ones in gentle rainfall. The process is the same, only the scale changes. Storm winds also follow clear logic. When the air rises quickly inside a storm cloud, air from around it rushes in to replace it. This creates strong gusts near the surface. But even these winds come from a calm rule. Air always moves from higher pressure to lower pressure. The faster the pressure changes, the stronger the wind becomes. Storms may look wild, but they are guided by these simple movements. When storms pass, the air often feels cooler and cleaner. This is because storms pull warm air upward and bring cooler air down from higher altitudes. The rain also removes dust and pollen, leaving the environment fresh. Many people find this moment after a storm soothing. There is also a peaceful rhythm to the way storms come and go. They build slowly, release their energy, and then fade back into gentle conditions. This rise and fall is part of the natural cycle of weather. It is like the earth breathing in and out through changes in temperature and pressure. Even the loudest storm is only temporary. Calm always returns. Storms have important jobs in nature. They help move heat from one place to another. They bring water to dry ground. They clean dust and pollution from the air. Without them, many places would be too dry, too hot, or too stagnant. So even though storms can seem intense, they play a helpful role in keeping the earth healthy. When you understand these gentle reasons behind storms, their noise feels less frightening. You can picture the quiet steps that form them. You can imagine the warm air rising, the cool air sinking, the droplets joining, the pressure shifting. And you can see storms as natural events that follow a soft set of rules. Nothing happens without purpose. Nothing happens without cause. Everything is part of a calm, steady system. You can remind yourself that the storm began in silence, grew through simple movements, and will soon return to calm. Let the understanding soothe you. The sky is doing exactly what it has done for millions of years, in the same slow, thoughtful way it always has. When the sun goes down, the whole sky begins to change in a slow and gentle way. You may not notice it at first because everything happens quietly. But the air, the temperature, and even the way clouds move shift into a different pattern. It is almost like the sky takes a deep breath and settles into a softer rhythm. Day weather and night weather behave differently, and once you understand these small changes, the night feels calmer and more interesting. You start to see that the sky has its own routine, just like you do. During the day, sunlight warms the ground. That warmth rises and heats the air above it. Warm air is active. It moves, it rises, it carries moisture, it creates clouds, it feeds breezes, it gives energy to weather. That is why daytime often feels busier. Winds are stronger. Temperatures change quicker. Everything reacts to sunlight because sunlight is the engine of weather. But when the sun fades, that engine slows down. The ground is no longer heated, so it begins to release the warmth it stored during the day. This release is slow and steady, almost like warmth leaking into the air around it. As the ground cools, the air touching it cools too. Cool air sinks and stays near the surface, creating a blanket of calm. Nights feel cooler because the earth is letting go of the heat it held all day. This cooling changes everything in the atmosphere. Warm air rises and moves, but cool air stays closer to the ground. And because cool air does not rise as easily, clouds do not grow as quickly or as tall. This is why the sky at night often looks clearer. The same amount of moisture might be present, but it cannot rise high enough to make large clouds. Instead, the moisture stays low and forms soft traces like dew or light fog. These quiet features show how gentle night weather can be. You might also notice that nights are quieter. Part of this is because human life slows down, but part of it comes from the sky itself. Winds weaken at night because winds depend on temperature differences. During the day, the sun heats some areas more than others, creating sharp contrasts that make air move quickly. At night, without sunlight, those differences shrink. The air becomes more even and winds relax. This is why nights feel still, especially just before dawn. Another interesting thing happens with temperature. During the day, air is mixed because warm air rises and cool air sinks. This mixing keeps temperatures more even. But at night, mixing stops. Cool air settles at the bottom, and layers of warmer air stay above it. This creates temperature layers that feel calm and stable. You may feel the coolness near your skin while the air just above stays slightly warmer. This layering is one of the reasons night air feels different, heavier, softer, and more settled. Many small weather details shift at night. The humidity often rises because cool air cannot hold as much moisture as warm air. This is why you see dew on grass, cars, and windows in the morning. The moisture was always in the air, but the drop in temperature caused it to settle and appear as tiny droplets. It is a gentle process that happens silently while you sleep. Clouds also behave differently at night. During the day, warm rising air builds clouds from below. At night, without that rising motion, clouds often shrink or fade. Sometimes they stretch into thin layers that look like soft waves across the sky. These thin clouds reflect heat back toward Earth, which is why cloudy nights feel warmer. Clear nights lose more heat, allowing temperatures to drop lower. So the presence or absence of clouds plays a role in how the night feels. Even storms follow a different pattern at night. Many storms lose energy after sunset because the warm air that fed them is no longer rising as quickly. You may have seen tall daytime clouds shrink or disappear after dark, but there are exceptions. Some storms form at night because cooler layers settle in ways that create new movements. These storms are usually calmer and move more slowly because the air is less energetic without the sun. Night weather also affects the air you breathe. Cooler air sinks and presses closer to the ground, carrying smells more clearly. This is why you might notice the scent of plants, soil, or even fresh rain more strongly at night. The air moves less, so scents stay close to you instead of rising and spreading out like they do during the day. It gives the night a special feeling, almost like the world is holding still. Animals respond to these changes too. Many creatures become active at night because the cooler air helps them conserve energy. They move through still air and quieter conditions, taking advantage of the calm environment. In a way, they trust the night weather the same way people do. They know it brings softness instead of harsh heat or strong winds. Humidity plays a gentle role as well. When temperatures drop at night, moisture begins to collect on plants, dust, and surfaces. This moisture cools the air even more, creating a cycle that continues through the night. It is why mornings can feel crisp or damp, depending on how cool it got overnight. These soft details are easy to overlook, but they shape how comfortable the night feels. Temperature changes also affect sound. Cool night air is dense, so sound travels farther. That is why distant noises feel closer or clearer after dark. Weather supports this effect by keeping the air still. With less wind to break up sound waves, noises move smoothly across open areas. This is another reason nights feel calm. You hear only gentle sounds, and they blend into the quiet atmosphere. If you look at the sky just before sunrise, you may notice another shift. As the sun prepares to rise, the ground starts to warm again, even if you cannot see the light yet. This warming wakes the air. Cool air begins to lift. Winds begin to form again. Moisture starts to rise. The atmosphere begins to mix. The night's calm slowly transitions back to daytime activity. This change is slow and nearly silent, but it marks the moment when weather begins to move again. Understanding night weather can make the world feel more peaceful. You know why the air cools. You know why winds rest. You know why dew collects and clouds thin out. Everything follows a soft routine shaped by the rising and setting of the sun. The night is not empty or quiet by accident. It is responding to changes in warmth, pressure, and movement. These small shifts create a deep sense of calm that helps you relax and breathe more softly. As you rest at night, and when morning arrives, the cycle begins again in the same gentle way. Understanding this rhythm helps you feel connected to the world around you. You begin to see that night weather is just as important as day weather, soft, steady, and quietly shaping the calm above your head as you fall asleep. Sometimes the air feels heavy, almost like it is sitting on your skin. Other times it feels light and easy to breathe, almost like nothing is there at all. This change happens because of humidity, and even though you cannot see humidity, you feel it in many ways. It shapes your comfort, your breathing, and even your mood. Once you understand how it works, you begin to notice small things about the air that you never paid attention to before. These gentle details make the weather around you feel more alive and familiar. Humidity is simply the amount of moisture in the air, not water drops you can see, but tiny bits of water in gas form. The air is always holding some amount of this moisture, but the amount changes depending on temperature. This is why some days feel sticky while others feel crisp. Warm air can hold more moisture. Cool air holds less. So when temperatures rise, the air becomes thirsty for water, and it collects moisture from oceans, lakes, plants, and even the ground. As it fills with moisture, the air feels heavier. When you walk outside on a humid day, you feel warmth pressing closer to your skin. Your shirt may cling a little, your breathing may feel slower. This is not because the air has gained weight in a physical sense. It is because your body tries to cool itself by releasing sweat, and sweat cools you only when it evaporates. But in humid air, evaporation slows down. Sweat stays on your skin longer, making you feel warmer and stickier. Your body is doing its best to cool you, but the air is too full of moisture to help. On dry days, the opposite happens. Sweat evaporates quickly, so you feel cooler even if the temperature is high. Your skin feels lighter. Your clothes feel more comfortable. Breathing feels easier. The air pulls moisture from your skin faster, which may cool you, but can also make you feel thirsty. These dry days are what many people describe as crisp or clean. Your breathing changes with humidity, too. When the air is full of moisture, it can feel thicker, even though the amount of oxygen stays the same. The moisture makes each breath feel warmer and slower. You may feel like you need deeper breaths to cool down. On dry days, each breath feels cooler and sharper. The difference is subtle, but once you notice it, you feel it each time you step outside. Humidity also affects temperatures in ways you might not expect. When the air is humid, it holds heat more easily. This makes warm days feel hotter because the heat stays trapped close to the surface. Nights stay warmer too. Humid air releases its heat slowly, so the temperature does not drop as much after sunset. That is why summer nights in humid places can feel warm even long after dark. On the other hand, dry air cools down fast. Without moisture trapping heat, the warmth from the ground escapes into the atmosphere. That is why deserts can be very hot during the day but very cold at night. The low humidity allows heat to leave quickly. Dry weather creates sharp temperature swings, while humid weather creates smoother ones. You may notice humidity in the way the air smells. Moist air carries scents farther. Flowers, grass, soil, even the scent after rain becomes richer and more noticeable. Dry air, especially in winter, can make smells feel faint. The moisture in humid air helps carry molecules to your nose, giving the night or morning a more noticeable aroma. Many people say humid air feels full, and this is one reason why. Humidity also plays a part in cloud formation. When the air holds a lot of moisture and cools down, that moisture begins to gather into tiny droplets, creating clouds. On humid days, clouds form more easily because the air is already close to its limit. When the temperature drops only a little, the moisture begins to collect. That is why humid mornings often start with mist or low fog. The moisture had nowhere else to go, so it settled into tiny droplets near the ground. When humidity is low, clouds have a harder time forming. The air may look clear and bright because there's not enough moisture to create cloud layers. These conditions make sunsets appear sharper and more colorful. The dry air scatters light more clearly, giving the sky a clean look. Humidity, meanwhile, softens the sky, making light look hazy or gentle. Sticky days often happen just before rain. When warm air rises, it cools, and the moisture inside it begins to collect into droplets. As the air above fills with moisture, the air near the ground must hold more too. The sky may look calm, but the air tells you change is close. Nights feel crisp when humidity drops. As temperatures fall, the air loses its ability to hold moisture. Some of that moisture settles as dew, leaving the remaining air dry and cool. This dryness creates a refreshing feeling when you step outside. Even if it is warm earlier in the day, the nighttime coolness brings balance back to the atmosphere. Humidity also interacts with wind. When the air is humid, winds often feel softer because moisture slows down, temperature changes. When the air is dry, winds can feel sharper or cooler because they carry away heat faster. This difference explains why a small breeze on a humid day feels warm, but the same breeze on a dry night feels cold. Moist air helps plants stay hydrated. It protects skin from drying out. It keeps dust from rising too easily. It helps control temperature by holding heat at night. Without humidity, weather would swing sharply every day and night. Humidity balances the atmosphere and adds softness to the air. Humidity affects clouds, storms, wind, and even the way the sky looks at different times. It is a quiet part of weather that works in the background, shaping comfort and temperature without loud signals. You feel it every day even if you do not see it. It sticks to your skin, softens the air, and changes the world around you in gentle ways. The next time the air feels heavy, you can imagine the tiny bits of moisture filling it. You can think about how the warmth of the day allowed the air to hold more water. And when the night feels crisp and cool, you can picture the moisture settling as dew while the air becomes lighter and drier. Humidity is one of the softest parts of weather. It works quietly, without sound, shaping each moment of the day. Once you understand it, you can feel its presence in every breath, every breeze, and every warm or cool moment. It is always there, gently guiding the comfort of the air around you. There is something quiet and almost secret in the way seasons change, and most people never stop to notice how slowly everything shifts around them. One day feels almost like the one before it, yet small signs begin to appear if you look closely enough. You may notice a tiny change in the air, a new shade of light in the sky, or a soft smell that wasn't there yesterday. These little clues guide us into the next part of the year, even when we are too busy to see the pattern forming. The world never changes all at once. It moves gently, like it wants you to feel safe while everything transforms around you. As Earth travels around the sun, it leans at a slight angle, and that simple tilt shapes almost every part of our weather. It decides how warm the sunlight feels, how long days last, and when cooler winds begin to roll in. The amazing part is that this angle never changes, yet it creates a cycle that feels completely new every few months. This soft rhythm is something all life depends on, even if we rarely think about it. You might not notice the shift happening while you live your day, but the planet always keeps time in the background. Each season carries its own identity, almost like a personality. Summer has a bright and loud spirit, with long days that feel full of energy, as if the world wants you to stay outside a little longer. Autumn shows a calmer mood, with gentle winds that touch your skin like a quiet reminder that change is coming. Winter brings a deep stillness that makes everything feel slow and peaceful, even when the air bites at your nose. Then spring arrives with soft colors and new smells that rise from the earth, waking everything that once looked asleep. You can sense this cycle without even seeing a calendar, because your body learns the language of the seasons. There is a reason each season has its own smell. Warm air in summer carries the scent of sun-heated soil, blooming trees, and food cooking outdoors. Autumn air smells drier and sharper, almost as if it has been cooled and cleaned before reaching your nose. Winter has a smell that is harder to describe but easy to recognize, like cold metal and quiet streets. Spring holds a fresh, sweet smell when plants push through the ground again. These scents are the earth's way of telling you what is happening around you, even if you are not paying attention. The colors of the seasons also speak in their own way. In summer, sunlight looks bold and shadows feel strong. Grass shines greener and the sky almost glows. In autumn, the world turns into softer tones, with reds, oranges, and gold that look like the earth is slowly settling down to rest. Winter takes away many colors but replaces them with peaceful grays, deep blues, and sometimes the pure white of snow or morning frost. When spring returns, gentle greens and tiny soft colors appear, looking almost shy at first, as if they are testing the world before growing brighter. These colors guide your mood without you realizing it. Even the air itself changes from season to season. In warm months, the air feels fuller, almost like it wraps around you. In cooler seasons, it becomes lighter and easier to breathe. You may notice how your steps feel different, too. Warm ground feels soft and lively, while winter ground feels firm and still. These small shifts connect you to the world around you in ways you may not think about, yet your body responds to every detail. The slow change of seasons is like watching the world breathe. Nothing is rushed, everything moves at a steady, gentle pace. Leaves do not fall all at once. Ice does not melt instantly. The sun does not suddenly appear higher in the sky. Every change takes time, which makes the cycle feel comforting. There is something relaxing about knowing that the world follows a pattern it has kept for millions of years. You can trust that after one season ends, another will slowly begin again. Sometimes it is easy to forget how long this cycle has been happening. Long before cities, long before roads, long before clocks or calendars, the seasons were already turning in the same order. Ancient people used these changes to guide their lives. They watched the sky, felt the winds, and followed the rhythm of the earth because it was the most reliable guide they had. Even today, modern life still depends on this cycle, even if we pay less attention to it. Farmers plan their planting around the seasons. Animals depend on them to find food. Oceans respond to these changes with shifting currents. The entire planet moves together in this quiet pattern. A tiny tilt in Earth's axis creates the weather you feel, the plants you see, and even the choices people make every day. That tilt creates warm summers that help food grow and cold winters that allow the soil to rest. Without seasons, many forms of life would struggle to survive. What seems like a simple change in temperature is actually one of the most important systems on the planet. You may also notice how the seasons affect your emotions. Many people feel more awake and active during bright summer days. Autumn can bring a cozy feeling, like the world is calming down with you. Winter makes some people feel peaceful, while others feel more reflective or quiet. Spring often brings a sense of lightness, like your mind is ready to start fresh again. These feelings are natural because humans have always lived with the seasons. Your mind and body remember the rhythm even if you don't think about it. The slow shift from one season to the next is also a reminder that change does not need to be fast to be meaningful. The world shows you that steady movement can create beautiful results. A leaf turning color happens over many days, but the final shade is worth the wait. Snow forming on cold ground takes time, yet the result can be peaceful and bright. Flowers push through the soil little by little, but when they open, it feels like the world is waking up. As you watch the seasons change, you might find comfort in their timing. When one ends, another begins without fail. Even if a season feels long, you know the next one is already on its way, preparing quietly in the background. This slow, dependable cycle is one of nature's calmest gifts, reminding you that life moves in steady patterns, not sudden jumps. The world doesn't announce these changes loudly. It speaks through cooler breezes, shifting colors, small smells, and tiny sounds. If you take a moment to notice them, you begin to understand how alive the world is, even when everything seems still. The seasons whisper their way through the year, guiding everything with gentle steps. As long as the earth continues its path around the sun, this quiet rhythm will keep playing, offering comfort to anyone who listens. It is not just a plain background, but a storyteller sharing secrets about the sun, the air, and the world around us. Sometimes it feels calm and blue, sometimes it burns orange at sunset, and other times it turns deep gray, warning of storms ahead. Each change in color is a message from the atmosphere, and if you pay attention, you can learn a lot without even touching the weather itself. The most familiar color of the sky is blue, and it is a color that feels gentle, almost peaceful. The reason the sky is blue has to do with sunlight and the way it moves through the air. Sunlight is made of many colors, all mixed together, but the air around us does something special. Tiny particles in the atmosphere scatter light, and blue light scatters more than the other colors because of its short waves. This scattered blue light reaches our eyes from every direction, making the sky look like it is painted in soft, endless blue. It is a quiet trick of nature, a gentle effect that shapes how we feel when we look up. Sunrises and sunsets tell a different story, and their colors are warmer, filled with oranges, reds, and sometimes pinks. This happens because the sunlight has to travel farther through the air when it is low on the horizon. During this long journey, most of the blue light gets scattered out, leaving the reds and oranges to fill the sky. Sunsets and sunrises can feel magical because they are a moment when light and air work together to paint a new scene. Even clouds catch these colors, glowing softly or reflecting deep shadows, giving the sky layers and depth that change every minute. The sight is both calming and awe-inspiring, reminding us that the sky is never just empty space. Storms bring yet another mood to the sky, turning it gray, dark, and sometimes almost black. Clouds are filled with tiny droplets of water or ice, and when sunlight tries to pass through, it is blocked or scattered in a way that dims the world below. Dark clouds feel heavy, not just because they are full of rain, but because they carry the weight of what is coming. Lightning and thunder may arrive later, but even before the first drop falls, the color of the sky lets you sense the energy building in the atmosphere. This gray stage is part of the sky's story too, showing that beauty can exist even when the weather feels serious or dramatic. The colors of the sky are not just about what we see, but also about how we feel. Blue skies can make us calm and relaxed. Bright sunsets can make us thoughtful or inspired. Gray skies can make us feel quiet or protective, as if the world wants us to pause and notice the small details. Every color is a gentle reminder that the sky is alive in its own way, always moving, always changing, and always communicating. Sometimes the sky shows patterns we hardly notice. Thin, high clouds called cirrus clouds glow in soft white, almost like brush strokes across the blue canvas. Lower clouds block sunlight differently, creating shadows on the ground or dramatic shapes in the sky. When storms are near, clouds stack together, forming layers that can look like mountains above us. Even the tiniest changes in light can alter the colors dramatically. Sunlight may shine behind one cloud, creating a silver edge, while another cloud absorbs it, appearing dark and mysterious. The sky is always subtle, offering beauty and motion without making a sound. Rainbows are another story that the sky tells, and they are made of sunlight and water working together. When sunlight passes through raindrops, it bends and separates into different colors. This natural prism paints the sky with bands of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Rainbows are gentle reminders that even after storms, the sky can show something calm and beautiful. They appear only when the light and the water align in just the right way, which is why they feel so special and rare. When you see one, it is as if the sky has paused to share a secret with you alone. The color of the sky changes throughout the day, too, even when the sun is not rising or setting. Morning skies often look soft, with pale blues and delicate shades, as the air is cooler and the light is gentle. Midday brings a stronger, brighter blue because the sun is higher and the light passes through less atmosphere. Afternoon skies can start to warm and tone as the sun lowers, preparing for evening colors. These changes are small, but if you notice them, you can sense the rhythm of the day. It is a subtle clock that nature has built, reminding you that time is moving even when it feels still. Clouds play a huge role in the sky's colors, shaping what we see in unique ways. When clouds are thick, they can hide the sun and turn the sky dark even in the middle of the day. Thin clouds let sunlight pass, creating bright patches or soft glows. Clouds near the horizon during sunset or sunrise catch the red and orange light, glowing as if the sky itself is on fire. The way clouds interact with light is always changing, so no two skies are exactly alike. Even when the weather seems ordinary, there is constant movement and change happening high above us. Even during storms, the sky can show surprising colors. Sometimes it turns green before tornadoes form, or purple during evening thunderstorms. These unusual shades happen when light interacts with water and dust in different ways. They are warning signs of powerful weather, but they also remind us that the sky can be mysterious and surprising. Colors are a language that the atmosphere uses to communicate with everything below, including humans, animals, and plants. If you learn to read it, you can see the story of the sky unfolding before your eyes. At night, the sky tells a calmer story. The sun's light fades, leaving deep blues and soft blacks, and stars begin to appear. Moonlight can cast a silver glow, creating shadows on the clouds below. Even at night, the sky is full of subtle colors and patterns. Light pollution from cities may mask some of them, but in rural areas the colors of night are breathtaking. You can see layers of dark clouds, faint glows on the horizon, and the quiet reflection of moonlight on water. Night shows that the sky is never really still. It is always speaking in its own way. Watching the sky's colors can be a relaxing experience. It teaches patience because the changes are gradual. It inspires curiosity because no two moments look exactly the same. It connects us to the planet because the colors are created by sunlight, air, water, and particles that all work together. Understanding the sky's colors helps you notice more than just beauty. It helps you notice science in everyday life. The next time you look up, even for a few seconds, you can imagine the journey of sunlight, the scattering of waves, and the quiet stories the clouds are telling above you. It begins every morning and continues through night, repeating its patterns with subtle differences every day. Sunlight, clouds, storms, and even air particles all play roles in this soft and gentle performance. The blue sky, the fiery sunset, the grey storm clouds, and the quiet night sky are all chapters in this ongoing story, and we are lucky to witness them. The more you pay attention, the more you realize that the sky is alive, always moving and always changing, yet always calm in its own way. Next time you notice a color in the sky, pause and think about what it might be telling you. Maybe it is announcing the arrival of a storm, the calm of a new day, or the beauty hidden in a cloud. Each shade, from soft blue to deep orange, is part of a delicate balance that makes Earth feel alive. Understanding this story is not about complex science. It is about observing, noticing, and feeling the quiet messages above. The sky is a storyteller, and its words are written in colors, just waiting for us to see and appreciate. Weather feels different depending on where you are, even if it is the same day. In deserts, the air is sharp and dry. The sun beats down with strong light, making the ground hot and the winds warm. Sand shimmers under the sun, and heat rises from it in waves that make the distance look blurry. At night, deserts can turn cold very fast because there is little moisture in the air to hold warmth. This change between day and night makes desert weather feel extreme, even though it seems empty and quiet. The wind carries tiny grains of sand across the land, shaping dunes slowly over years. Every breeze leaves a mark, and every shadow tells a story of the sun's movement. Deserts teach us how weather can be patient, working slowly but surely over time, shaping not just the landscape, but also how life survives there. Plants like cacti hold water carefully, and animals often stay hidden until cooler times, all responding to the quiet rules of desert weather. Coasts feel different. Air there is soft and filled with moisture. Waves crash and release spray, and the wind carries the smell of salt and seaweed. Sunlight bounces off the water, creating reflections that make the sky appear brighter. The air may feel cooler than the land because water holds temperature differently, warming slowly in the sun and cooling slowly at night. Clouds form more easily over oceans, bringing gentle rains that feed coastal plants. Weather by the sea is a balance between land, water, and air. Breezes rise and fall softly, carrying both warmth and moisture, and they change depending on the time of day. Morning air may feel crisp and light, while evening air carries the softer warmth of the setting sun. Seashores are where you can notice the softest changes in weather as air, water, and clouds communicate quietly with each other. Even storms near coasts move differently, often slowed or shaped by the shape of the land and the water below. Life here, from seabirds to people, adjusts gently to the rhythm of coastal weather, learning when to move, when to rest, and when to protect itself. Mountains create their own weather, which is quieter but more complex. Air rises as it hits slopes, cooling as it goes higher. Clouds form over peaks, sometimes soft and thin, other times heavy and grey. Snow can appear on the highest points while the valleys below stay warm and clear. Winds may swirl between peaks, moving in patterns shaped by the shape of the land. Rivers and streams carry the melted snow, showing that mountain weather affects not only the peaks but also the land below. Weather in mountains can change faster than in deserts or coasts. Clouds appear suddenly, temperatures drop in minutes, and winds shift directions without warning. Yet this change is part of a natural rhythm. Animals like mountain goats and birds adjust instinctively, finding shelter and warmth when needed. Forests on slopes grow in patterns that match the rainfall, sunlight, and wind of each area. Mountains show how weather and land work together, creating mini-climates that feel unique, quiet, and alive. Tropical rainforests are another place with their own story. Here, air is thick with humidity, and temperatures stay warm most of the year. Rain falls frequently, sometimes in heavy showers, sometimes in soft mist. The air smells of wet leaves and rich soil. Trees and plants release water into the air, adding to the moisture, and the cycle continues. Birds, insects, and animals respond to these patterns, moving and calling at certain times of day. Even the sunlight feels different, filtered through the leaves, softening the sky above. Rainforest weather shows how life and air interact closely. Every drop of water matters, and every change in wind or cloud can affect the creatures that live there. It is a calm, constant rhythm, full of energy, but rarely sudden in a frightening way. Polar regions feel extreme but still quiet. Ice and snow cover the land, reflecting sunlight and keeping the air cold. Winds can blow softly across frozen lakes or roar across glaciers. Day and night change dramatically with the seasons, bringing months of sunlight or darkness. Snow and ice shape how the air moves. Blizzards may appear suddenly, but for the most part, polar weather is steady, slow, and patient. The cold may feel sharp against the skin, but it also creates a calm world. Animals like penguins, seals, and polar bears follow the subtle changes, moving in ways that conserve energy and survive the long, cold months. Even the sea ice shifts slowly, responding to temperature and wind, showing that weather, no matter how extreme, follows its own rules. Grasslands and plains have their own gentle weather patterns. The land is open, allowing winds to move freely. Clouds appear and fade quickly, and rain may fall in sudden bursts. Seasons change more noticeably here. Summers can be hot and bright, while winters bring softer cold and frost. The movement of air across flat land carries seeds, dust, and sometimes the smell of rain long before it arrives. Animals like bison or deer sense these changes and adjust their daily routines. Grasslands show how openness affects weather, allowing air and clouds to move without much restriction, creating patterns that are sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always meaningful. Cities, surprisingly, have their own subtle weather differences too. Buildings and roads hold heat, making air warmer than surrounding areas. Winds may twist between skyscrapers, creating small breezes or quiet gusts. Rainwater runs differently, pooling or moving along streets. Even the colors of the sky can appear slightly different because of particles in the air. People often notice these small differences without realizing it. Urban weather may not feel natural, but it is still shaped by the same forces: air, sun, moisture, and land. Observing it quietly can teach how small changes in temperature or airflow affect the world around us. Rivers and lakes create peaceful local weather. Water cools the air above it in summer and warms it in winter. Mist rises in the early morning, spreading soft patterns over the land. Clouds often form nearby, moving gently with the breeze. Birds and fish respond to these changes, and humans notice too, as the air feels softer and fresher near water. Even small bodies of water can shape the air around them, reminding us that weather is sensitive to its surroundings, not only to large spaces or oceans. Every place on Earth tells a different story through its weather. Deserts teach patience and extremes. Coasts show balance and gentle change. Mountains create miniature climates with sudden shifts. Rainforests teach about cycles of moisture and warmth. Polar regions show calm yet extreme conditions. Grasslands display openness and movement. Cities reflect human influence on natural forces. Water bodies reveal the subtle power of temperature and evaporation. If you pay attention, you can read these differences and feel connected to the planet's quiet rhythms. Weather is not just something that happens above us, it is a living, breathing system that reacts to land, water, sun, and life itself. Traveling through these climates teaches more than science. It teaches observation, patience, and appreciation. Feeling the sharp sun in the desert, the soft breeze at the coast, or the sudden chill of a mountain storm reminds us that weather is personal. It interacts with our bodies, emotions, and senses in ways that go beyond measurements. Each place has its own melody of air, moisture, and light, quietly playing for anyone who is willing to notice. Weather is everywhere, but it is always unique in each location. Even within a small area, local weather can be different from the general pattern. Hills, valleys, rivers, or human structures can all change airflow and moisture. Shadows affect how the sun warms surfaces. Clouds shade some areas more than others, and small winds move in patterns shaped by the landscape. Observing carefully, you can see how subtle features of land and water shape the weather that surrounds us. No place is exactly the same, and every step you take can reveal a new version of calm, gentle weather in action. The world's variety of climates is a quiet reminder of how connected everything is. Sunlight, air, moisture, and land interact in endless combinations. Life responds to these patterns, adapting slowly over years or quickly in hours. Weather is not just a background, it is a force that shapes the land, guides life, and communicates through its patterns. From deserts to coasts, mountains to forests, ice to grasslands, every place has its own story, gently told by clouds, wind, rain, and sunlight. Paying attention to these patterns allows us to understand our planet in a deeper, calmer way. The more we notice, the more we can feel the soft rhythm of Earth everywhere, in every climate, and in every quiet corner where air and water meet. Extreme weather might sound frightening, but it has its own calm logic. Lightning flashes across the sky, yet each bolt follows paths that balance energy in the atmosphere. Clouds gather and charge slowly, collecting tiny particles that create tension between them. When the spark finally jumps, it releases energy in a short, bright flash. Thunder follows, carrying the sound of that energy moving through the air. Even though it looks sudden, lightning is nature's way of keeping the sky balanced. It helps redistribute electricity, a quiet rhythm hidden in the storm. Observing it from a safe distance, you can see the power without feeling fear, understanding that the sky has its own system to manage excess energy. Snow is another form of extreme weather that carries peace within it. Snowflakes fall softly, each one unique, shaped by temperature and humidity, They float gently through the air, covering the land in white blankets that calm the world beneath. The cold may seem harsh, but it slows movement, preserves water, and protects plants and animals during winter. Snow also reflects sunlight, keeping the air cooler and creating soft patterns across fields and forests. Walking through falling snow, you can notice the tiny details, the quiet world that snow creates. It changes the landscape gently, muffling sounds and making the environment feel slow and calm. Snowstorms may seem wild from afar, but each flake is part of a larger, gentle system. Heat waves feel different, more intense, but they too follow natural rules. Sunlight warms the land, which then warms the air above it. High-pressure systems trap heat in the atmosphere, creating long stretches of warmth that affect plants, animals, and humans. Heat waves can feel overwhelming, but they are part of a larger balance of energy on Earth. The sun's warmth moves through the air, oceans, and land, creating patterns that regulate climate over time. Observing a heat wave quietly can teach about patience, about how the Earth stores and releases energy in ways that may not be obvious day to day. Shade, water, and wind all help balance the effects, showing that even extreme warmth is part of a natural rhythm. Hurricanes and typhoons are extreme examples of wind and rain working together. They form over oceans where the water is warm, feeding the storm with energy. Winds spiral, clouds build, and rain pours in torrents. From above, the patterns look like a perfect wheel of movement. While on land these storms can cause damage, over the ocean they act like giant machines, moving heat from one part of the planet to another. This energy transfer is a quiet balancing act, even if it seems chaotic when it reaches humans. Satellites track these storms, revealing how they rotate and how the atmosphere organizes itself. Understanding hurricanes as part of Earth's system helps us see them not only as destructive, but also as essential to redistributing heat and moisture across the globe. Tornadoes, though sudden, follow predictable patterns of air movement. Warm, moist air meets cooler, dry air, and wind begins to spin. The rotation tightens into a column, stretching from clouds to the ground. Tornadoes move in paths that depend on local weather conditions, and they often appear in clusters or during certain seasons. Scientists study them carefully, learning when and where they form. Nature uses tornadoes to mix air layers, transferring heat and energy quickly. Observing them from a safe distance, you can see the logic in their movement, a fast but purposeful system that maintains balance in the atmosphere. Floods are another form of extreme weather that show how water and air are connected. Heavy rains can overwhelm rivers, lakes, or the land itself. While dangerous for people, these floods replenish soil, carry nutrients, and maintain wetlands. Rivers rise and fall naturally, spreading water across floodplains to support plants and animals. Human activities can make floods worse, but the natural system has ways to handle extra water. Observing rainfall and river patterns helps us see the quiet ways the earth moves. Water from one place to another, keeping the land fertile and alive, even when it seems overwhelming. Droughts may feel like the opposite of floods, yet they too have a soft logic. When rainfall decreases for months or years, the land adapts. Plants go dormant, rivers shrink, and animals change behavior to survive. Soil stores moisture slowly, and even small rains make a big difference. Droughts are extreme in feeling, but they show how ecosystems manage water carefully over time. They also remind us of the balance between rain, heat, and evaporation. Watching a landscape recover after a drought teaches patience and respect for the quiet rules of nature. Thunderstorms are a mix of extremes combining rain, wind, and lightning in one system. Warm air rises quickly, carrying moisture upward where it cools into clouds. Water droplets grow, collide, and fall as rain. Wind moves clouds and rain around, creating patterns in the sky. Even if the storm looks chaotic, it follows predictable steps. Each part of the storm, from lightning to rain to gusts of wind, serves a role in balancing the air and energy in the atmosphere. By observing, we can see that storms are not random. They are carefully organized by nature's laws. Blizzards combine snow, wind, and cold into extreme events that still follow quiet logic. Snow lifts from the ground, carried by strong winds, creating whiteouts and soft drifts. The cold air preserves snow and prevents melting. Animals find shelter, and trees bend under the weight of snow. Though the storm seems wild, it moves according to patterns of air pressure, temperature, and moisture. Each gust and flake is part of a larger system maintaining balance. The blizzard may slow life temporarily, but it also protects the land, conserves water, and recycles energy. Heat lightning is a soft spectacle of extreme weather. Unlike regular lightning, it occurs in distant clouds and does not strike the ground. The flashes illuminate the sky, showing energy being released high in the atmosphere. It signals storms far away, quietly reminding us of the connectedness of the weather. Observing heat lightning is safe and beautiful, a gentle reminder that even extreme energy can move calmly and silently above us. Hailstorms are small yet powerful examples of nature's balance. Ice pellets grow inside clouds, carried upward by strong winds and then released when they become heavy. Hail protects the cloud system by returning moisture to the ground in a controlled way. Observing hail from indoors shows how extreme conditions can happen without danger. A quiet demonstration of the sky managing its energy. Each piece of hail has followed a path set by physics, showing that even seemingly random events have reason and order. Extreme weather teaches us patience, observation, and respect. Lightning balances electricity. Snow preserves water. Heat waves show energy distribution. Hurricanes move heat across oceans. Tornadoes mix air layers. Floods and droughts manage water. Blizzards shape landscapes gently. Heat lightning shows distant energy, and hailstorms release moisture safely. All these examples show that the Earth is always finding ways to maintain balance, even through events that feel strong or surprising. Nature does not act in chaos. It works quietly, following rules we can learn and appreciate. Observing extreme weather from a safe distance allows us to enjoy its calm patterns. Scientists use tools to track storms, predict lightning, and understand heat waves, but anyone can notice the quiet rhythms around them. Clouds gather, winds change, temperatures shift, and rain or snow arrives on schedule. Weather is not only about danger, it is also about how the planet manages energy, moisture, and temperature in ways that sustain life and maintain balance. Every extreme event is a piece of this story. Even small events show the same quiet logic. A sudden gust of wind in a field, a flash of lightning over the hills, or a short burst of heavy rain all follow the same rules. They are smaller versions of larger systems, helping the Earth regulate itself. By paying attention, we can notice how energy moves, how water cycles through air and land, and how temperature shapes the air we breathe. These small observations are a gentle reminder that weather, even when extreme, is part of a calm and connected system. Extreme weather is part of Earth's heartbeat. It may surprise us, feel strong, or catch our attention, but it is never random. Lightning, snow, heat waves, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, droughts, thunderstorms, blizzards, hail, and heat. Lightning all play roles in balancing energy, water, and air. Observing them carefully allows us to understand and appreciate the quiet rules that shape our planet. Even the most powerful storm follows nature's instructions, releasing tension, distributing energy, and protecting life. Nature's logic is soft, patient, and precise, showing that extreme events can be understood, respected, and admired for their calm order. Watching them, we see that the world is alive, not chaotic, and that every storm, flash, or heat wave is a message from the sky about balance, energy, and care. Weather is always changing, but the shifts we notice over years and decades are part of a slower, quieter story. The sun still rises and sets, clouds still gather, and rain still falls, but patterns are gradually moving in ways we are only beginning to understand. Scientists watch the long-term behavior of air, oceans, and land, looking for small changes that grow over time. These subtle shifts may seem invisible day to day, but they can shape life on Earth in ways that are gentle, slow, and fascinating. When temperatures rise in one region, plants, animals, and even humans adjust in small steps. Forests grow differently, rivers change paths, and crops respond to the heat and rainfall. The atmosphere and oceans work together like a careful balancing act. Air currents carry warmth and moisture to new places, while ocean currents move energy and water across the globe. These systems operate quietly, adjusting to each other in ways that take years or decades to notice. The future of weather is partly written in these calm, patient movements, reminding us that nature works slowly even when we feel the results quickly. One example is the shifting of rainfall patterns. Some regions that used to have steady rains may see longer dry periods or heavier storms. Others may become wetter as winds carry moisture from distant oceans. Rivers respond, soil absorbs water differently, and plants either thrive or struggle. These changes happen over time, not suddenly, allowing ecosystems to adjust. Even human communities notice these patterns gradually, learning when to plant, when to store water, and how to protect against floods. The future of weather is always connected to these quiet rhythms of water and air. Temperature changes also happen slowly but surely. The Earth warms and cools naturally over centuries, but recent human activity adds energy to the system, making trends faster than usual. Glaciers melt at new rates, snow patterns shift, and seasons may arrive earlier or later than they used to. Animals move to find cooler or warmer places, and plants bloom on new schedules. These long-term adjustments are like a soft conversation between Earth and life itself. Everything adapts gradually, even if the effects feel extreme in the short term. Observing these changes teaches patience, showing that the world has its own timescale much larger than our daily lives. Oceans play a huge role in shaping future weather. They store heat, move water across continents, and carry nutrients that support life. When the oceans warm, currents shift, affecting distant climates. Storms may become stronger over warm waters, while winds change direction to balance the heat. Even small shifts in ocean temperatures can ripple across the planet, showing how interconnected weather truly is. By studying these quiet currents and their patterns, scientists can predict trends in rainfall, storm intensity, and temperature, offering a glimpse into the future of Earth's climate without panic, but with curiosity and care. Ice and snow tell a story of gradual change as well. Polar regions hold frozen records of past weather. As ice melts slowly, it affects the surrounding air and oceans. The melting exposes darker surfaces that absorb sunlight, slightly warming the atmosphere. Winds shift, sea levels rise, and ecosystems adapt. Penguins, polar bears, seals, and other creatures respond in their own ways, moving or changing behavior to survive. These quiet processes show that even extreme cold has a soft rhythm, and the changes we notice today are part of a slow, natural cycle combined with new pressures from human activity. Forests and deserts also reflect long-term weather patterns. Trees grow to match rainfall and temperature, and desert plants find ways to survive long dry periods. Over years, ecosystems shift subtly, learning from the weather around them. Migration, flowering, and growth all follow these slow patterns, showing that even life adapts in harmony with the climate. Observing these changes closely, we can see the gentle adjustments Earth makes to maintain balance. Weather is not only about storms or sunny days, it is the ongoing conversation between the sky, land, and all living things. Humans have learned to influence weather in small ways. Cities change wind patterns and temperatures through buildings, roads, and activity. Agriculture changes local moisture levels as plants grow or soil is tilled. Yet Earth is resilient, often balancing these changes quietly. Rain may fall elsewhere to restore equilibrium, winds may shift slightly, and temperatures may stabilize over time. By observing how natural systems adapt, we gain insight into the subtle power of weather and the ways our actions interact with it. It is a lesson in both caution and wonder, reminding us that our choices affect the planet, even in soft, unseen ways. Technology also helps us glimpse future weather with care. Satellites track clouds, winds, and oceans over decades, showing patterns that were invisible before. Supercomputers simulate storms, rainfall, and temperature changes years ahead. These tools do not create panic. Instead, they help us understand trends, prepare for shifts, and watch the slow rhythm of Earth's climate. Forecasts that span months, years, and even decades offer gentle guidance, teaching us to notice gradual changes without fear. The future of weather is not a sudden surprise, but a story written patiently in the skies and seas. The carbon cycle quietly shapes long-term climate as well. Plants absorb carbon dioxide, oceans store it, and volcanoes release it back into the air. This cycle influences temperature, rainfall, and wind patterns. Small changes accumulate over time, nudging weather in one direction or another. Observing these subtle shifts is like reading the heartbeat of Earth over years. Clouds, rain, winds, and sunlight all respond to these changes, showing that even extreme events like heat waves or storms are part of a larger, slower process. The future of weather is deeply connected to this invisible movement of energy and matter. Extreme weather events may become more frequent, yet they follow patterns that can be studied calmly. Heat waves, heavy storms, and long droughts all fit within larger cycles. The intensity may increase, but the underlying processes remain logical and measurable. By noticing these trends, humans can adapt in advance, planting different crops, building better infrastructure, or conserving water. This preparation is not about fear, but about respect for the soft, long-term story of weather. Nature continues its quiet work, shaping the future with patience and precision. Everyday experiences also hint at long-term changes. Seasons feel warmer or cooler than before, rainfall arrives at new times, and winds carry moisture differently. Birds may migrate a little earlier, and plants bloom sooner. These small observations accumulate over years, giving us subtle warning or guidance about what the atmosphere is doing. Paying attention to these details shows how the future of weather is connected to life in small, gentle ways. Nothing is random. Everything adjusts in a quiet, balanced pattern, teaching us to notice and respect the rhythms around us. The future of weather reminds us that change is constant, slow, and natural. Earth adapts to shifts in temperature, rainfall, and energy, and all life adjusts with it. Oceans, winds, ice, forests, deserts, and cities interact in a subtle dance of cause and effect. Humans influence it, but so does the planet itself. Studying trends without fear, observing patterns patiently, and noticing quiet changes in daily life allows us to understand the calm logic behind the atmosphere's evolution. Even as extreme events happen, they are part of a long-term system that balances energy, water, and air, showing us how Earth maintains stability over time. Watching clouds, feeling winds, noticing rainfall, and observing seasonal changes all reveal that weather is never truly still. The future is not an unknown chaos, but a story that unfolds slowly, quietly, and predictably in many ways. Small adjustments today become the climate of tomorrow. The air, oceans, ice, and life continue their patient work. By respecting these soft, long-term changes, we can learn to live in harmony with weather, noticing its beauty, understanding its patterns, and appreciating the gentle logic that shapes every day, month, and year. Weather, in its quiet patience, reminds us that change is natural. Life adapts, and the planet continues to turn with a calm, steady rhythm. Sometimes we hardly notice it, but it is always there, shaping the world around us and influencing how we feel. Weather touches every part of life, from the warmth of the sun on your face to the gentle patter of rain on your window. It reminds us that we are connected to something larger, a vast system that is always moving, always changing, yet always present. Even when the day seems ordinary, the sky is never still. Clouds move across it like soft messages written in air, carrying moisture, shadow, and light. The wind stirs gently, whispering across trees, fields, and streets. Rain may fall slowly or pour suddenly, each drop part of a quiet, ongoing story. No two clouds are exactly the same, and no two breezes follow the same path. The sky teaches us to notice small differences, to appreciate the quiet details that often go unseen. When night comes, the sky becomes even more intimate. The sun sets and leaves behind shades of orange, pink, and purple that fade into deep blues and blacks. Stars emerge, tiny points of light, but feel like distant companions, twinkling as if they understand our presence. The moon casts a soft glow, calming and consistent, even when the weather changes. At night, the world quiets down, and the sky's companionship becomes more obvious. We can feel it in the cool air, the subtle movements of clouds, and the gentle hush that spreads over the land. Weather has a way of shaping memories. A summer rain can bring the scent of wet earth, reminding you of a childhood day spent outside. A winter wind can make you huddle closer to warmth, feeling both the cold and the comfort it creates. A bright, sunny morning can lift your mood without any words. These experiences make weather feel personal, as if the sky knows us and responds to our lives. It is more than science or chance. It is a quiet, ongoing conversation between the atmosphere and everything living beneath it. Thunder and lightning may seem frightening at first, but they are simply part of nature's balance. Rain fills rivers and nourishes plants. Wind moves air that cools the land and stirs clouds. Snow blankets the earth gently, creating calm spaces for animals and humans alike. Each extreme is part of a larger rhythm that has existed for millions of years. Learning to watch these changes without fear allows us to feel comfort in their presence. The sky, even when wild, can feel gentle if we pay attention. The sky is also a teacher of patience. Weather rarely follows our schedule. Clouds form slowly, winds build over time, and storms arrive on their own rhythm. The sun rises and sets whether we are ready or not. Seasons change gradually, each bringing new colors, smells, and temperatures. Watching these changes teaches us to slow down and observe. We begin to notice the small details, the way a cloud catches the last light of day, how leaves tremble in a soft breeze, or how the air smells before rain. These observations remind us that the sky is a constant companion, offering lessons in patience and attention. Even when the world is noisy, the sky provides quiet. From above, storms may rage and winds may howl, but from a distance the patterns of weather are calm and predictable. Satellite images and forecasts show us how energy moves through the atmosphere, and even this scientific perspective has a kind of beauty. Seeing clouds swirl over oceans, storms form in distant lands, or rain spread across continents helps us appreciate the calm order behind what feels chaotic on the ground. The sky combines both movement and stillness, teaching us that change can be steady, gentle, and reassuring. Our connection to the sky is deeply emotional. Sunlight warms us, moonlight comforts us, and rain can make us feel reflective. Weather affects our moods subtly yet powerfully. A soft breeze on a warm day can bring joy, while a cool morning may bring peace and clarity. The consistency of seasons, the predictability of sunrise and sunset, and the quiet beauty of a starry night all contribute to a feeling of companionship. We may not always think about it, but the sky is present in the moments that matter most, shaping our lives softly and invisibly. Even the smallest elements of weather remind us of this companionship. The sound of leaves rustling in the wind, the smell of fresh rain, the warmth of sunlight through a window. These are intimate reminders that the atmosphere is alive with subtle messages. Birds and animals respond to the sky's changes, guiding humans to notice shifts in temperature, wind, and light. Our bodies react too. A drop in pressure can make joints ache, or a cool breeze can soothe the skin. Weather is a companion not only to the land but to our senses, teaching awareness and connection. Time feels different under the sky. Watching clouds slowly form, seeing the sun rise, and noticing how shadows move across the land all remind us of the passage of hours and days. Seasons mark longer cycles, guiding life's rhythms, from planting and harvest to migration and growth. The sky carries both the small moments of minutes and the long movements of years. Its companionship stretches across time, linking our lives to generations before us and those yet to come. Weather, in this way, is both intimate and eternal, a friend that accompanies humanity through every stage of life. At night, the sky can guide thoughts and calm the mind. Stars and the moon create patterns that are easy to follow with the eyes and comforting to the imagination. Gentle winds can rock leaves and grass in a slow rhythm, creating a natural lullaby. The quiet hum of insects, the soft sound of rainfall, or the distant rumble of thunder all remind us that the world continues on its own schedule, caring for life without hurry. Weather, in its many forms, is a steady companion that can guide us into rest, reflection, and sleep. The sky also inspires wonder. Clouds, rainbows, sunsets, and storms all reveal the beauty of natural order. Seeing how sunlight scatters through droplets, how clouds float in layers, or how storms rotate, teaches us that the world is structured and interconnected. Understanding the science behind these phenomena does not lessen their wonder, it deepens it. We begin to notice the delicate balance, the intricate systems that allow rain to fall, wind to blow, and sunlight to warm the land. The sky is both a teacher and a friend, offering knowledge and comfort together. As you lie down and prepare for sleep, the sky remains above you, a gentle presence. Its cycles continue without interruption, carrying clouds, winds, and light across the earth. You may hear the soft rustle of leaves or a quiet rain tapping on your window. Each sound, each movement is a reminder that the world is alive and steady, moving in patterns that have existed long before us and will continue long after. The sky, in this sense, is a companion that never tires, never leaves, and always provides a quiet rhythm to rest within. Tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine the sky's gentle presence. Feel the warmth of sunlight from earlier in the day or the cool touch of a passing breeze. Picture clouds slowly moving across a quiet blue canvas or stars twinkling softly in the dark. The weather, in all its forms, is with you, protecting and guiding. Its rhythms are soft, its messages gentle, and its patterns reliable. You are part of the story, one of countless lives beneath the same sky, sharing in its quiet companionship. The sky reminds us that change is natural, calm, and beautiful. Seasons will continue to shift, winds will blow, rain will fall, and sunlight will warm the land. Each element of weather is a companion, teaching us patience, connection, and wonder. No matter where you are, no matter the day or night, the sky is with you, quietly shaping life and offering calm. It carries the energy of storms, the peace of gentle rain, and the light of dawn and dusk, always present, always watching, always caring. As sleep approaches, allow the sky's companionship to settle around you. Let the soft sounds of weather, the quiet movements of air and clouds, and the gentle glow of light guide your mind. The world is calm, alive in its own way, and ready to continue its work as you rest. You are part of this great system, carried by the air, touched by sunlight, and watched over by the sky. Sleep now with the knowledge that you are connected, comforted, and accompanied by one of nature's oldest friends. Good night.